Welcome to the Jaguar Podcast, a show where we discuss all things related to Duval County's finest NFL football team, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Move 42, set, what?
Duval, baby! Hey, it's Andrew again. It's episode 49 of the Jaguar Podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Executive Vice President Tom Coughlin getting fired from the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I know a lot of people are probably happy about this who are not fond of Tom Coughlin. But, honestly, I am a fan of Tom Coughlin as a coach for Jacksonville. But I think this was the right move, honestly. After all the news reports that were released this week, turns out that, the total amount of all grievances filed in the NFL, 25% of those are attributed to the Jacksonville Jaguars organization. And that is just terrible. I mean, it's terrible. And really illuminates the culture problem in this organization and in the front office. And I think that, as we can tell by Shad Khan's decision, this was attributed to Tom Coughlin. And it's just not good. It's just not a good look for Jacksonville. And, I will read this statement in verbatim from the NFLPA. In the last 2 years, more than 25% of the grievances filed by players against or in the entire league have been filed against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You as players may want to consider this when you have a chance to select your next club. So essentially issuing a warning about the Jacksonville Jaguars organization. That is not good. That is very, very not good. And, I guess to dig a little bit deeper into this, the Jacksonville Jaguars were requiring them to use Jacksonville Jaguars facilities for medical rehab or injuries. And this was against the collective bargaining agreement that was constructed between the NFL and the NFL Players Association. So essentially, this was a violation of that agreement. And, this was causing a lot of problems. It was causing a lot of these grievances to be filed. And, what came out from more news reporting this week was former Jacksonville Jaguars defensive end Dante Fowler Jr. was fined over $700,000 by the Jaguars organization for missed medical appointments. That's crazy. I mean, it's just crazy. More news reports and stories came out after Tom Coughlin was fired. I believe AJ Bouye had mentioned some of the fines that he got. Of course, Jalen Ramsey, our favorite player, right? He tweeted and he was like, I tried to tell you guys that, the fines and the craziness of this organization was just too much for me. And I think some of that holds weight, right? I mean, and maybe that's why Jacksonville's so injured. Their players aren't getting the treatment that they need. But I'm going to read the statement that was issued by Shad Khan this week in the news about the Tom Coughlin firing. Within the past hour, I informed Tom Coughlin that he was being relieved of his duties as executive vice president of football operations of the Jacksonville Jaguars effective this evening. I determined earlier this fall that making this move on the conclusion of the 2019 season would be in everyone's best interest, but in recent days, I reconsidered this and decided to make this change immediately. I thank Tom for his efforts, not only for the past 3 years, but for all he did from our very first season, 25 years ago, to put Jacksonville Jaguars on the map. General Manager Dave Caldwell and head coach Doug Marrone will each report directly to me on an interim basis. My expectations and those of our fans for our final two games and the 2020 season are high. So essentially, head coach Doug Marrone and general manager Dave Caldwell will be reporting to Sean Khan. And, take that, as you will, but I don't even know if these two guys are going to be here next season, honestly. I would love to see Dave Caldwell not be here because I don't think he's been doing a great job as a general manager. Doug Marrone, I'd kind of like to see him here again to give him another chance, with a different front office, because I feel like he's been kind of the fall guy. They've been making him go out and do all these press conferences, and I just think he needs the right staff around him. I don't think he's a terrible head coach. I would make some changes probably at the offensive coordinator staff position, and definitely at the defensive coordinator position. But that's neither here or there. But I think this was the right decision to make by Shad Khan. He needed to take action, and I think this was the right move. I hate to see this for Tom Coughlin because I enjoyed him as a head coach. I really enjoyed watching the nice run of the Jacksonville Jaguars to several playoff appearances. I love that era of Mark Brunell and Fred Taylor, Jimmy Smith, and Tony Baselli. But guys, stay strong and Duval for life. Let me know how you feel about this situation. Leave me a comment on the YouTube video or podcast episode. Give me a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel. Leave me some feedback on Apple Podcasts. Go Jags, and I'll see you next time.
Let me get that. JYD coming up with the big sack. Quarterbacks beware, we on the prowl. Game day night, you could hear it in our growl. Intimidation on to keep their hearts racing. Eating other teams live on TV front of the nation. Spectacular defensive scheme.
This episode is available on the Jaguar Podcast YouTube channel. So if you stop by, make sure to subscribe and give this video a like. Also, these episodes are available on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and other major podcast distributors as well. So if you don't mind, please leave me a review and some feedback. I'd really appreciate that. If you'd like to connect with me on social media, my Twitter handle is @JagwarPodcast. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. This is Andrew signing off. Cheers.